Hey guys, recording this here on what is it, Friday the 19th. Maybe you're seeing this on Monday at the latest, but want to let you know we are almost sold out for Founder 500 in Austin, Texas here in about a week. It's going to be an amazing event, 500 B2B SaaS founders. I'm looking at the attendee list. There's almost 60 founders with more than 7 million bucks in ARR. It's an incredible group. There's over 150 with more than a million revenue. It's an incredible group. You don't want to miss it. Grab your hotel, grab your flight, grab a ticket right now. I'll put the link in the bio, in the description here on YouTube. And I think there's only about 3 tickets left. Okay, about 3 tickets left. I'd love to see you guys there. Don't be bashful. Grab your ticket now. Hey folks, my guest today is Bryan Smith. He's an ex-wellness professional and pro sports performance coach turned repeat founder and startup advisor, now building an employee performance and mental health platform, which you can find at myleon.co. Bryan, you ready to take us to the top?
Let's do it, man.
All right. How do you do this? Feels like such a personal thing. How do you do this in software?
You know what? It's funny. So my background, as you said, so I was a director of sports science for USA Track and Field, right? And then what we did is we used data science to predict performance or predict injury in professional athletes, right? If athletes and salespeople, people working tech, we're all the same, right? We burn out, we get fatigued, all those other things. And really what we need to be able to do is we need to look for the signals within the data to understand what's going on. So what Leon does is we integrate into like Salesforce. We primarily work with sales teams, by the way. We integrate with Salesforce and HubSpot, and then we use sentiment analysis using diagnostic surveys and whatnot. Combine that into an algorithm that gives us a snapshot of the teams that are at risk of burning out, teams that are at risk of mental health issues. But on the opposite end of that, it actually tells us the teams that actually can be challenged or pushed harder. All right, so it tells us the teams that are very resilient. So it ends up being sort of almost like a mental model framework for a sales manager to say, these teams need support, these teams can be challenged or pushed harder. Now, how do I build my business model around that?
So let's say one of our listeners here, B2B SaaS founder, they've got 5 people on their sales team. They use HubSpot. They want to use Leon to reduce turnover. They sign up. They give you access to their HubSpot API. What are you reading for? Give us an example of a signal that you're getting from HubSpot's API to signify that one of the sales reps might be, having a mental health issue or about to be burned out.
It's a combination. So what we'll do is we'll look at your HubSpot activity data. So that could be calls, emails, revenue generated, meetings booked, opportunities generated, whatever else. Mix that with diagnostic surveys. All right. So where we're asking about sleep, we're asking about well-being, we're asking about psychological safety, work relationship, things along those lines.
You're asking the employee.
Asking the employee, correct.
How do you incentivize the employee to do that?
What's that?
How do you incentivize the employee to take the time to actually fill those surveys out? I feel like people get those surveys, they ignore them.
So that's the interesting part about it, right? So dude, surveys suck, right? Everybody agrees that, right? And NPS specifically are very bad. Like you get no signal from it from an intent standpoint to understand what to actually do with it. So 1, it's the way that we ask questions. 2, it's the way that we score questions, right? So the way someone scores or answers a question has a half-life associated with it. So that will help us understand exactly when to follow up with that person again. But to your point, we don't just take survey data and report some garbage metrics to a manager, right? What we also do is provide recommendations to both the manager and the employee to how to actually fix the things that are going wrong. So if we see that an employee is burning out, we'll push a playbook to a manager to say, these are the things you should be doing, reduce hours, whatever it is, right? Go to a 4-day work week, talk more about empathy. But we'll also, we have a marketplace where we've integrated into Headspace and the Calm and Equinox and the Soul Cycle and Inside Track and all these other things, where we'll tell the company the exact service to buy for that employee based off the data that we're seeing. But on the opposite end of that, we'll do the same thing with employees. We'll say, employees, this is what you're struggling with. Here's what you should do to be able to fix this. Here are some content that you can engage with. And here are some services that you can use through our marketplace to be able to sort of fix the issue that might be going on.
Got it. That's compelling. Okay. So give me a sense of your business model, right? What's the average customer going to pay you per month or per year to use this technology?
Yeah. So right now we have a couple different tiers. So we have a free plan all the way up to sort of like a managed care program. So primarily 2 revenue sources. We have a SaaS model, which is on average about $350 per manager per month. So we're charging on a per manager basis. But the marketplace also has a revenue share revenue model attached to it.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right, so the teal is what a VC would pay, yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise, they sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview. Sorry, real quick. So I want to focus mainly on SaaS here, but how would the marketplace work? You recommend a gym membership to Equinox and you have a relationship with Equinox, so you get a cut from Equinox?
Both sides of it. So it's almost like a vendor model to a certain extent. So if you're familiar with vendor. So we'll actually buy, purchase, manage the whole entire benefit, which will make a percentage on that on the employer side. All right. But also on the other side, we'll make a percentage from Equinox or Headspace or whatever else. So we're making roughly about 20% of every dollar spent within the platform.
10% on both, it's split equally, 10% on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you I'm making this up, if you sign up $100 a month user to Headspace, you'll get a $20 cut, just as an example of that, 10 from the employer and 10 from Headspace.
Most of the use cases are company-wide, right? So an HR manager will buy Headspace for the whole entire organization, which will get 20% total on.
Oh, I see. Which of these is, if you add up total revenue last year on a percent basis, what percent was marketplace revenue versus SaaS revenue?
SaaS was about 70% of the business. And that was purely just because we didn't market it enough, probably. Mm-hmm. But that's starting to switch over now, especially as our introduction into the free plan. Because it gets really interesting, right? Because, most of the time when we're talking about buying these benefit products, no one has any fucking clue what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. What works, what doesn't work. What's interesting is we can quantify the impact of these services. So we can say, of this percentage amount of people that engaged and signed up with Headspace or wherever it is, we saw this amount of improvement in mental health or burnout or performance or whatever else.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, very cool. You said on the SaaS side, $350 per manager per month. But right. I don't know anything about the average, like your sweet spot customer that signs up for you. How many managers is on the team? How many managers are they going to pay for?
Most of the time, it's a complete sales function. So we're talking about a VP of sales down to director of sales, down to sales managers and anything in between, right? So if it's, SDR leaders or whatever else, that's normally what the structure usually looks like.
So, but what does that mean? Like, I don't know if that means there's going to be 1,000. So are there like 5 leaders on average for the sales team size you're typically signing up?
Yeah, depending on the size of the company, we're looking anywhere between 7 to about 12, depending on the structure of their team.
Got it. Then you're dealing, so $350 per manager times 7 managers. What is that, like $2,500 a month? So you have an enterprise sales motion here. I mean, you're getting up there.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And were you always that way, or did you move up market?
No, it was always the focus. I mean, it took some time to sort of us to get our legs underneath of us a little bit, but that was always the focus. It just took some time to get there.
Yeah. Talk to me about time. When did you launch?
Yeah, so we launched pre-product, like pre actually anything, roughly about 2.5 years ago. We had an existing product before that, which was sort of a gym membership sort of model, sort of like a gym pass, class pass type model.
So 2019, which, late 2019.
Yeah, exactly. And COVID killed that business, obviously, which accelerated to this. So about 2.5 years ago, we launched pre-product on Product Hunt, signed up roughly about 6,000 early access users through
all from Product Hunt. Wow.
Yeah. It was actually pretty, I mean, we hustled, man. And we went through like every sort of community play, and, we were very, challenging in the way that we opened up. Our tagline was like 85% of your employees hate their job. And a lot of people got mad about it, and it was exciting for us. And then, there was a lull because it got, like anything from a product standpoint, everything got delayed. But we've been like fully launched right now, roughly about a year and a half.
Year and a half. Interesting. Do you remember how many upvotes you got?
I don't, to tell you the truth.
I mean, were you like first of the day? I'm just curious what position you have to be to get 6,000 signups from Product Hunt. I imagine it's like the top position.
It actually wasn't all that great, because what we did is we took that Product Hunt launch and then went to like, Dave Gerhardt's community and sort of like started talking to sort of the marketing people there, and then went to some of the sales communities and just started like literally pushing buttons. Be like, your sales reps hate their jobs, your employees hate their jobs. And that's what drives a lot of sort of the engagement to figure out what the hell we were doing. But it definitely wasn't all Product Hunt for sure.
Yeah. You had another Product Hunt launch in 2021. That's not the one you're talking about, right?
That's not the one we're talking about. I don't know if the one we actually launched is actually on there anymore, because we had to replace the one that we did in 2021. But I think that was number 4 of the day or something like that.
Yeah. This one didn't do bad. I mean, it didn't do amazing. It didn't do bad though either. It did, I would say, fairly solid. Very cool. Okay. So Product Hunt helped you there. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that was your first sort of tranche coming in sort of late 2019, 2020 into 2021. How many customers are you now working with today? How many logos?
So about 1,500 total users, total clients right now, signups right now. Roughly about 750 of them are what we consider active users, which primarily is data being answered, and is there some sort of action being taken within the product, right? So if that is either content engaged or a playbook started or a marketplace product and invested in or something like that. Yeah. With roughly, I think we're at 264 paying clients currently right now.
That's great. That's a healthy little funnel. I love that you know those numbers off the top of your head. So can we take that 264 paying customers times sort of the 7 manager ARPU we talked about earlier? I mean, that would put you guys at like 600 grand a month right now in revenue.
No, it's definitely not that. It's a little all over the place, because some of that is mixed in with some of our marketplace revenue. Some of it's mixed in with just red line deals and whatnot. So yeah.
Well, so again, what I asked earlier was like the average team when they sign up, how many managers? And you said on the low side was 7. Is the low side actually more like 2 or 3?
Yeah, I apologize. So that's the teams that most of the time we're going after. So when we get into like a whole entire sales function, we're actually taking on about 7. But we also have onesie, twosie sort of sales managers.
I see. Apologies. I see. Well, okay. So again, if you look at your current customers, not what you're going after in the future, but your current customers, you would say it's more like 2-person, like manager seat teams.
Individual sales managers, things along, like that. Correct.
Okay. Got it. So like 2 seats times 2, your 264 clients would be more like $180,000 a month in revenue, something like that.
Yeah.
That's closer to accurate.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And that's just on the SaaS side, right?
Yeah, that's a combination. That's just on the SaaS side from there. And then there's the marketplace revenue as well.
That's great. And you said earlier that SaaS is about 70%. So we can mark the $180,000 a month up by about 30% to get to your total revenue of like $210 a month, something like that.
Yep.
That's fantastic. But you said what's surprising here, most people say SaaS is growing faster. You actually said your marketplace percentage revenue is growing faster than SaaS.
Yeah, and I think that's just because we sort of figured out the business model to a certain extent, right? And we started pushing free a lot more also, because we did see that there was dollars being spent within the that sort of benefit space, and there was really nothing sort of, when really committing to that sort of market as a whole, especially the way that we looked at it, right? So the buying and the selling and the quantifying of sort of those metrics. So we pushed free, and then from there changed a little bit of the sort of PLG function to make sure we're getting people to engage into those products and buy some of those products within the marketplace. Plus, on our end, that's a much stickier revenue source. And some of the SaaS model that we have.
Yeah, no, of course. What about overall growth rate? If you're doing 220 grand a month today in revenue, do you remember where you were exactly a year ago?
Yeah. So roughly, I think we grew by 116%.
Okay. So you had about 100 grand a month last year. Now you've more than doubled.
Sure. Yeah.
That's great. Very cool. Talk to me a little bit more about the team. How heavy engineering is this? How many engineers?
13 engineers currently right now.
Across a team size of a total of how many?
Yeah, so from a sales and marketing standpoint, it's just me and my co-founder who are still leading the sales and marketing aspects of it. And then the rest of it is customer success and engineering.
So total team size is what?
Yeah, so we're at 26 people currently right now.
26. And do you feel like you've sort of hired ahead of growth, or are you like, oh my gosh, everyone's wearing 20 hats, we need to hire more people?
We're panicking completely right now. And truth be told, it's, I think it's a scary proposition to be able to hire a VP of sales or, a director of sales or a VP of marketing, whatever that is. And then truth be told too, like there's a lot of things within product that, are still being handled manually on the back end that we're still trying to sort of work through. So I think once we have some of those figured out, some of the PLG motion, then we'll start hiring some of those bigger guys.
That makes sense. Have you bootstrapped all this to date, or have you raised?
No, we've raised. We're roughly about 4.5 million.
Oh, I see. When was the last raise?
8 months ago.
Okay. So what was that this year or last year?
What is it, 2022? So this year.
They closed in January, something like that. And was that your seed or Series A or?
Yeah, it was sort of like a combination of like a friends and family sort of seed round. Essentially we have a relationship with a PE firm that spun off a VC sort of arm to be able to sort of fund us, but it was very much a friendly sort of investor, sort of friends and family type relationship. It just had a sort of organizational structure behind it.
So the full 4 million you raised today was in that seed round.
Correct. Yes.
I see. Okay. Why raise the capital? I mean, why couldn't you? I mean, was there a path to keeping equity, keeping control, not having to set up a board?
Yeah, I think it was on that end. It was a friendly investor that we knew we could take in capital. We had to give up a board seat, but it was also too, we didn't really have to answer to our investors in any shape or form, right?
I mean, the biggest thing though that you didn't mention though is equity. I mean, I understand it's a friend, but you don't want to give up 20% of your company just because they're a friend.
Yeah, sure. No, and I agree with that. But it was still friendly terms to a certain extent. And truth be told, and dude, we got scared, right? Like we felt like we needed money to be able to sort of, get us through where we're at and what our roadmap looked like. And, we decided to do it, I guess.
Fair enough. Most folks doing seed rounds, closing in January this year, were selling call it between 10 and 20% of the business. Were you sort of in that same range?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So that would have been like a valuation of what, something like 20 million, 22 million, maybe?
A little under there. I think it was about 17 or 18 actually.
Post money?
Yes.
Okay, that's not terrible at all. Now, is it panning out how you thought it would? You had a thesis on where you'd invest the money. You have 6 months now of history. Is it working?
Oh no, we burned through way too much money. To tell you the truth, we made
how much is too much?
No, I mean, we still have a considerable amount left, but we still. I mean, like anything, neither one of us come from this world, right?
Yeah.
So we made a ton of mistakes as far as keeping staff on too long, over investing in certain things, and I mean, you live and learn, so, but yeah, we made a shitload of mistakes, man, to tell you the truth.
Fair enough. I love the vulnerability. Very cool. Hey, hell of a story here. Let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
Oh, favorite bit, the great CEO, the great CEO Within. I enjoyed that book actually.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're currently following or studying?
No, I don't think so. No.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building Leon?
From a sales standpoint, I love Ample Market actually.
Ample Market. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I have a 5-month-old, so like 4.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is that your only kid?
No, we have 2 more. We have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Wow. Busy guy. So, okay. So married with 3 kids.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. And how old are you?
I am 40.
40. Wow. Okay. And last question, something you wish you knew when you were 20.
Something I wish I knew when I was 20. I guess that everything would be okay.
That's a good thing to know.
I was a bad kid, man. So I was a bad kid, did a lot of bad things as far as, that everything was going to be okay. Just had to stay faithful to stuff,
Guys, myleon.co, you're going to see more of this. They plug into your HubSpot API, your Salesforce API. They'll look at certain signals along with employee surveys to understand where's burnout happening, who is, maybe, approaching a mental health issue or things of that nature. Then they also help you find the solution. Remember, it's a Headspace membership for $10 a month. His revenue model is you pay him, right, per manager, $350 a month. And then also, if he helps you sign up for Headspace to help solve some of these issues, he makes a 10% cut on each side, right? So $100 sale, he'll make $10 from you, $10 from Headspace. Currently doing about $220,000 a month in revenue, up from $100,000 a month just a year ago. 70% of that 220 grand a month is pure SaaS. The rest marketplace. They're scaling nicely here. 4 million raised at around a 17, 18 million post money recently. 26 on their team, 13 engineers. He says they're breaking out the teams, trying to find talent. Bryan, thanks for taking us to the top, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.